Welcome back to the Share Trek Curiosity channel, everyone.
Glad to be back.
I'm Tim, and with me as always is Jane, our resident expert on, everything extraterrestrial.
That's me.
Today we are tackling a real head-scratcher, a cosmic puzzle that's been bugging scientists and philosophers for ages.
Oh, I know this one.
Yeah, Fermi's Paradox.
Right.
It's like the universe is massive, billions upon billions of stars and planets, and statistically speaking, with all those chances,
Yeah, you'd think.
there just has to be other intelligent life out there, right?
You would think so.
But here's the weird thing.
What's that?
We haven't found a single trace.
Really?
No signals, no spaceships, nothing. So where is everyone?
That is the question, isn't it?
That's the paradox.
And it gets even more interesting when you consider
Yeah?
that new asteroid YR24.
Oh yeah, that one's a real nail-biter.
It really is.
YR24. I mean, it's just some pretty wild theories.
And some unsettling possibilities.
For sure, like the Great Filter theory.
Oh, that's a good one.
It suggests there's this critical hurdle, a filter, that most civilizations just don't survive.
It's like a test.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine a series of challenges that civilizations face as they, develop.
Yeah.
The Great Filter is like this giant wall that most just can't climb over, and it leads to their demise.
Wow.
It could be a technological roadblock, some environmental catastrophe, or even, self-destruction.
Oh, like we're seeing today.
Now think about YR24, discovered just last December.
Right.
This asteroid, it's on a path that has scientists really worried.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
And here's the kicker. The chances of it hitting Earth, they're actually increasing.
Not decreasing.
Nope, increasing.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like, makes you wonder if this could be our Great Filter moment.
Right. Like, are we going to pass or fail?
Exactly.
I think it's important to remember, though, we're
Yeah.
not just sitting around waiting.
Right.
We're not passively waiting for the universe to decide our fate. We've already shown that we can actually do something about these asteroids.
You're talking about the DART mission,
Exactly.
where NASA intentionally crashed a spacecraft into an asteroid.
To change its path.
It was a huge success.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely historic.
It proved that we have the tech to deflect these potentially hazardous objects in space.
We do.
Okay, so we have the tools, but knowing how the world works, I'm guessing it's not that simple.
You would be right.
What are the challenges we're facing this time around?
Well, for starters, predicting an asteroid's path, it's not as easy as you might think.
Really?
Yeah, it's not like plotting a course on a map. There's so many factors that can influence its trajectory.
Okay, like what?
Even something as small as sunlight can nudge an asteroid off course over time.
Sunlight, really?
Yeah, it's called the Yarkovsky effect.
So even sunlight can mess with an asteroid's path.
It can.
How does it even work?
Well, imagine you have this dark, rotating asteroid.
Okay.
As the sun warms one side, it absorbs heat and then radiates that heat back into space.
Okay.
This creates a tiny but constant force.
So it's like a tiny rocket engine fueled by sunlight.
Kind of, yeah. And it can change the asteroid's path.
But how much can this effect actually change YR24's trajectory?
That's hard to say for sure.
Really?
The Yarkovsky effect, it's subtle and it depends on a lot of things.
Like what?
The asteroid's size, its shape, its rotation.
I see.
But even a small change over a long time can have a big impact on its path.
So we've got this potentially dangerous asteroid on a concerning trajectory, and it's not exactly behaving predictably.
Right.
And didn't we need a ton of international cooperation to pull off the DART mission in the first place?
We did.
Is that even possible in today's world?
That is a crucial point. The political landscape has changed a lot since DART.
How so?
Global tensions are high, and international cooperation, it's become way more challenging.
If we look back at how we dealt with past global threats like, the SARS outbreak in 2003,
Oh, yeah.
the world came together pretty quickly, contained it within 8 months.
Right.
Then there was H1N1 in 2009, took a bit longer, about 16 months, but we still got it under control.
We did.
But then came COVID-19 in 2020.
And everything changed.
Yeah, things really went sideways.
The response to COVID-19, it was all over the place.
Yeah.
Often driven by national interests instead of global solidarity.
Yeah, everyone was looking out for themselves.
And misinformation spread so fast on social media.
Oh, I remember that.
It made things so much worse.
Eroding trust, hindering a coordinated response.
Exactly.
And 5 years later, we are still dealing with the fallout from that.
We are.
Are you saying we are seeing similar patterns emerging with YR24?
I am. There are already signs that YR24 isn't getting the attention it deserves.
Like what?
Well, NASA is facing budget pressures.
Oh no.
Which means they might not have the resources they need for a mission like DART.
That's really worrying.
It's the new at 4. NASA's workforce may be shrinking. The news outlet Ars Technica is reporting that the agency will be impacted by Trump administration layoffs targeting probationary employees. News 19's Kayla Smith joins us in the studio. So, Kayla, you're looking into the local impact on the possible job cuts here.
Greg, I'm working to find out what layoffs will mean for Huntsville. Marshall Space Flight Center employs nearly 7,000 people with an annual budget of about $5 billion. It also works closely with dozens of local contractors who support NASA's space missions. A NASA spokesperson tells me they are complying with the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, and at this point, it's too early to share what this will mean for the agency as a whole. A spokesperson at Marshall says right now they are only processing employees who accepted OPM's deferred resignation program. That program promised federal employees a buyout if they agreed to resign their positions. And last week, the president directed federal agencies to lay off their probationary employees. The buyout offers represented the first wave of job cuts. Thousands of federal employees have been laid off as ordered by President Trump's Office of Personnel Management.
So if NASA doesn't have the funding and international cooperation is shaky, what hope do we have?
Well, there is one nation that has been surprisingly proactive.
Oh, really?
When it comes to planetary defense.
True.
China.
China. So they're taking the lead on this.
They are. They've been steadily building up their space program for years, investing heavily in asteroid detection and interception technology.
Like they're looking at the long game.
It seems that way.
Thinking generations ahead.
Well, the rest of the world is focused on,
Short-term politics.
Exactly.
But isn't there a risk that China's focus on planetary defense could be seen as a power play? Further escalating global tensions?
It's definitely a possibility. The line between exploration and military ambition can be blurry.
Right, it's a double-edged sword.
But it's also important to acknowledge that China's space program has contributed to a lot of scientific discoveries and technological advancements.
That benefit all of humanity.
Exactly.
So maybe it's a good thing.
Maybe.
It's a complicated situation, to be sure.
So, where does this leave us? We've got this potentially planet-threatening asteroid hurtling towards us, a global community struggling with internal divisions and distractions, and a potential savior in the form of a rising superpower.
It's a scenario that raises some really big questions about humanity's future.
Yeah, what can we overcome our differences and work together to stop a cosmic disaster? Will we rise to the occasion proving that we can pass through a potential great filter event? Or will we just fall apart, become another cosmic cautionary tale? These are questions we'll explore further.
We were talking about China's surprising role in, planetary defense.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see them taking such a long-term view on this global threat.
It is. Their approach is so different from the short-term thinking you see in other parts of the world.
Yeah, it's like they were playing a different game altogether.
Right.
Like they're playing cosmic chess while everyone else is stuck with checkers.
The good analogy.
And their investment in space, it goes way beyond just asteroid deflection, right?
Oh, absolutely. They've been making huge strides in all sorts of space technology. They've built their own space station, sent missions to the moon.
Didn't they land a rover on the far side of the moon?
They did, a feat no other nation has accomplished.
It's clear they have big plans for humanity in space, and they're putting in the work to make it happen. But couldn't some people see this as China trying to, assert dominance, maybe even militarizing space?
That's a valid concern, for sure. The line between scientific exploration and military ambition, it can get blurry.
Yeah.
However, we can't ignore the fact that China's space program has led to many scientific discoveries and technological advancement.
That benefit everyone.
Right.
It's a complicated situation for sure.
It is.
But let's get back to YR24 for a minute. What are the chances it'll actually hit us?
It's still too early to say for sure.
Really?
The early calculations, they're based on limited data. As we get more observations, the estimated size and mass of the asteroid could change.
And that would affect its trajectory.
Exactly.
So it's like trying to hit a moving target in the dark.
Kind of. We're aiming at where we think it's going, but it could easily change course.
And don't forget the Yarkovsky effect we talked about.
Right. That unpredictable force from solar radiation could also shift YR24's path, making accurate predictions even harder.
So lots of unknowns.
There are.
So what are the possible scenarios here?
Well, the best case scenario is that YR24 just misses us completely.
Fingers crossed.
That would be a huge relief.
Yeah.
Another possibility is that it turns out to be smaller than we initially thought.
Okay.
Which would make it less of a threat.
I like those options.
Me too.
But we have to consider the other possibility, right? What if YR24 is on a collision course and it's big enough to do some serious damage, what happens then?
That's the scenario that keeps everyone up at night. A large asteroid impact. It would be devastating. Widespread destruction, massive tsunamis, earthquakes, dust clouds that could block out the sun.
Leading to global cooling.
Exactly. It doesn't sound good.
It doesn't. But history shows that we've faced incredible challenges before and overcome them.
That's true.
Think about World War II, the race to develop a polio vaccine, or even the Apollo program landing humans on the moon. We have a knack for doing the impossible when our backs are against the wall.
We do.
So maybe the threat of YR24 could actually bring us together.
It could. It could spark a level of international cooperation and innovation that we've never seen before.
Imagine a global effort, a kind of Manhattan Project for planetary defense,
I like that.
where scientists, engineers, policymakers from all over the world, they pool their resources and expertise to find a solution.
That's exactly the kind of thinking we need. And it's not totally unrealistic. We saw glimpses of this during the COVID-19 pandemic, scientists sharing research and data across borders.
So even with this threat looming, there's still hope.
There is.
YR24 could be the challenge that forces us to evolve to become a more unified and resilient species.
Capable of meeting the challenges of a universe that's full of both wonder and danger.
That's a great way to put it. So
Sure.
even though we are facing this potential disaster, there's also a chance for something amazing to come out of it.
There is. It's a reminder that we are all in this together. We share this fragile planet, and our fate depends on working together.
The stakes couldn't be higher.
They couldn't.
Well said. And we are back for the final part of our look into Fermi's Paradox and that mysterious asteroid YR24. It's been a wild ride so far.
It really has. We've talked about so much, the vastness of space, the silence from alien civilizations, and now this very real threat from YR24.
We've discussed the challenges of, figuring out its past, the
Yeah.
complexities of getting countries to work together, and the potential for disaster, but also for incredible unity.
Right.
But what I'm really wondering is what's next?
Hmm.
What are the possible outcomes here, and what could they mean for us humans going forward?
Well, as we've said, the best case scenario is that YR24 turns out to be a false alarm.
The cosmic dud.
Basically, yeah. More observations might show that it's going to miss Earth completely. Or maybe it's smaller than we first thought, less of a threat.
Yeah, those be good outcomes.
Definitely.
But let's be real here. What if YR24 is on a collision course and it's big enough to cause major damage? What can we do?
That's where things get really interesting and maybe a little scary.
I was thinking the same thing.
Remember the DART mission? We talked about how we intentionally crashed a spacecraft into an asteroid.
Right, as a test to see if we could change its path.
Exactly. It proved we could deflect an asteroid. But scaling that up to deal with something like YR24, that would be a whole different ballgame.
We'd need global cooperation on a scale we've never seen before. Sharing resources, expertise, making tough choices, all with the clock ticking.
Exactly. And even if we do manage to get everyone on board, there's still the question of how to deflect it.
Yeah, how do we actually do it?
Right, do we try to nudge it off course with something like DART again? Or use a gravity tractor to slowly pull it away? Or what about something more drastic like a nuclear detonation?
Whoa, that's a scary thought.
It is. These are tough questions, and the stakes are high. It's a situation that could easily turn into chaos and mistrust, with nations only looking out for themselves.
It's like a sci-fi movie, but it's real life.
Exactly. And it really shows both the best and worst of humanity. We can be incredibly smart and cooperative, but we can also be selfish and short-sighted.
So which side of ourselves will win out in this crisis?
That's the question, isn't it? A question that's been with us for a long time. Are we doomed to repeat our mistakes? Or can we overcome our limitations and achieve something truly amazing?
I want to believe that YR24 could actually be the thing that pushes us to choose the right path.
I do too. It could be the moment when we finally put aside our differences and work together, realizing that we're all connected and our survival depends on it.
Imagine a future where we become a true spacefaring civilization, protecting our planet from threats like this and exploring the universe with a new sense of purpose and unity.
That's a future worth fighting for.
It is. And whether YR24 hits us or not, the lessons we learn from this will shape us for generations to come.
Absolutely.
Well said, Jane. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Fermi's Paradox and the mystery of asteroid YR24. I hope you found it as interesting as we have.
I always enjoy these conversations.
We'd love to hear what you think about all of this. What are your hopes and fears about the future of humanity in space? Leave a comment below and let us know. And if you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe to help us grow the channel. Sharing it with your friends would be great too. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars and wondering.